Picture this, a 16-year-old kid dribbling a ball 30 yards from goal in a Euros semi-final against France, and instead of doing what any teenager should do in that moment, pass, he curls it into the top corner like he's done it 1,000 times before. That was Lamine Yamal 2 summers ago. That was the moment the world stopped calling him a prospect and started calling him a superstar. So when the 2026 World Cup rolled around, there was really only one question on everyone's lips. Not whether Spain could win it, not whether Messi could go out with one final fairy tale, or whether Mbappe could drag France to 3 consecutive finals. The question was simple. Will this be the tournament Yamal cements himself as the best in the world? And here we are, 6 games deep, 1 goal to his name, sat in a semi-final against France, with the football world quietly asking a very different question. What the hell has happened to Yamal?
Hey fam, this is your chance to build the jersey collection you've been waiting for. The Goal 90 bundle deal is live. Buy 2 jerseys and get 10% off. Buy 3 and get 15% off. Buy 4 and get a massive 25% off. Club kits, country kits, retro classics, pick your favourites and save big. And yes, every order comes with free worldwide shipping. The deal runs only until the end of May. Goal 90 bundle deal. Buy more, save more. Shop now at Goal 90 Shop.
You see, this tournament has been incredible. Kylian Mbappe has 8 goals and 3 assists. Messi, at 39 years old, also has 8. Erling Haaland has been an absolute wrecking ball for Norway, with 7 goals, almost single-handedly hauling a country that's never done anything at a World Cup into the final 8. Harry Kane isn't far behind. Olise has 5 assists. Even Ousmane Dembele has also been banging them in for France. Vinicius Jr. scored 4 before Brazil bowed out. And when you zoom into Yamal's own generation, the ones who are supposed to be looking up at him, Desire Du has been electric, Barcola's chipped in, Ayoub Bouadi has turned heads for Morocco, and Gilberto Mora has genuinely put himself in the conversation for best young player of the tournament. All of them seem to have made louder statements at this World Cup than Yamal has. That's not a knock, but just the overall atmosphere. Now, to be fair to him, the numbers don't tell the whole story. He's actually leading the entire tournament in chances created. He's still the guy most defenders are terrified of one-on-one. He was named man of the match against Belgium in the quarter-final without even scoring, purely off the strength of how much chaos he caused. Those man of the match awards we have been seeing, though, are a topic for a different day. So this isn't a story about a kid who's been bad. It's a story about a kid who's been okay when the standard he set for himself was generational. He literally had 37 goal contributions in 40 appearances for Barcelona before coming into the World Cup, so you can understand why the hype was at an all-time high. So where's the gap coming from? A few places, and the first one is obvious if you actually followed his season. This wasn't a clean run-in for Yamal. He missed 5 matches for Barcelona early in the campaign with chronic pubalgia, a nasty groin issue that's essentially a slow-building soft tissue injury, the same thing that hampered Cole Palmer at Chelsea for most of the year. Then, just as he was rounding back into top form, he tore his hamstring taking a penalty against Celta Vigo in April, an injury serious enough to end his club season early and put his World Cup involvement in genuine doubt. He admitted afterwards it was the kind of fear that kept him up at night, not knowing if he'd even make it to North America. He did make it, but he arrived undercooked, and a player whose entire game is built on explosive changes of direction doesn't just switch that back on overnight. Then there's the finishing puzzle. At Barcelona, Yamal spent the past seasons teeing up Robert Lewandowski, arguably the most clinical penalty box animal of his generation, someone who could turn half a chance into a goal without blinking. With Spain, his central striker is Mikel Oyarzabal, a genuinely good player, but not that. Oyarzabal has missed his fair share of good chances this tournament, a lot of them coming from Yamal. When your finisher isn't finishing, your creativity stops paying off on the stat sheet, even if the football is still there. This could explain his lack of assists when he had 4 in the Euros. Positionally, something's off too. At Barcelona under Hansi Flick, Yamal is given license to drift infield constantly, to operate almost as a second striker cutting in off the right, which suits his left foot perfectly because he's cutting onto it every single time. For Spain, Luis de la Fuente has often asked him to hold width, to hug that touchline and stretch the pitch, which is a completely different job. It keeps him further from goal and further from the ball at the exact moments games are decided. And speaking of that left foot, it's not just a preference at this point, it's almost a dependency. Yamal barely uses his right foot for anything beyond standing on it, and international defenders have clearly done their homework, showing him onto it and daring him to prove them wrong. At club level, the sheer frequency of service papers over that. At a World Cup, against scouted, well-drilled opposition, it's been exposed a little more. There's a chemistry issue as well. At Barcelona, his relationship with Jules Koundé on the right side is telling, overlapping runs, 1-2s, an understanding built over 2 full seasons together. With Spain, that's Pedro Porro, a fine fullback in his own right, but the partnership just hasn't clicked the same way. The timing's been slightly off, the runs haven't always synced up. And then there's the elephant in the room, Nico Williams. The two of them were the heartbeat of that Euro 2024 win, tearing teams apart from either flank, dragging defenders out of position for each other. Williams picked up an adductor injury against Uruguay in the group stage and has barely featured since, which means defenses can simply funnel their entire focus onto Yamal without worrying about being punished on the other side. That double threat that made Spain so lethal 2 years ago has basically been down to a single barrel for most of this tournament. Yamal himself, to his credit, has been remarkably calm about all of it. After the Belgian win, he pointed out that Spain won the Euros with him scoring precisely 1 goal, so he's not losing sleep over a shared statistic. "If we win the World Cup, no one will remember whether I scored goals," he said, and honestly, there's something in that. Wayne Rooney made a similar point recently, noting that even Messi makes the wrong call sometimes and that Yamal came into this tournament genuinely injured, still finding rhythm rather than being at his best. But now, Spain face France, the team he single-handedly broke hearts against in Munich 2 years ago, with a place in the final on the line. He's already turned up the psychological warfare, warning Mbappe and company that if anyone should be afraid walking into Tuesday, it's them, not Spain. He's never lost to Mbappe in a knockout match, not once, across club or country. The talent hasn't gone anywhere. The moment hasn't been too big for him before. Spain just need the version of Lamine Yamal that shows up when the stakes are at their absolute highest, because if that kid from Munich turns up in Dallas, 1 goal in 6 games will be nothing but a footnote. At still just 18 years of age, Yamal has gained a lesson in maturity from the challenges he has faced at this World Cup so far, his coach said. He doesn't need extra motivation. You actually sometimes have to calm his intensity. He's very motivated. He wants to do so much. We know that the best version of him, the attacking Lamine, is something that we haven't quite seen yet in this World Cup. Not to the level that we're used to, said De La Fuente. Do you think he puts on a clinic against France? Let us know in the comments. Remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. Also be sure to turn on post notifications so that you never miss out on any new videos. Catch you in the next one. Bye.